Beforehand, Cecilia suggested that maybe she might just dance the salsa instead of giving the speech. I'm really pleased I persuaded her to speak. Our second speaker, and Vitit, feel free to dance if you would rather do that, is Professor Vitit Muntarbhorn, a renowned international human rights expert and Professor Emeritus at the Faculty of Law at Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok. Another person with a history of overachievement. Do you own a set of Encyclopaedia Britannicas? No. Okay. One for me. Educated at Oxford and in Brussels, admitted to the English bar. He's lectured in law at universities in Austria, Canada, Denmark, England, France, Switzerland, all of the European countries except for England. He's served on many United Nations bodies, including as the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the sale of children, child prostitution and child pornography. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the Chair of the International Commission of Inquiry on the Ivory Coast, and since September 2012 has been serving as the Commissioner of the Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the Syrian Arab Republic. Professor Muntarbhorn has performed a substantial amount of work with non-government organisations in the field of human rights, including with the Red Cross and the Red Crescent, as well as being the author of many publications on human rights and development issues. Garth told me earlier from PILNet that you're responsible for some of his teaching him in human rights leadership. Thank you on behalf of all of us for that. In 2004, Professor Vitit was awarded the UNESCO Prize for Human Rights Education. He's been a particularly valuable ally of PILNet and helped the organisation to connect with Thai lawyers. He's somebody that I'm incredibly looking forward to speaking to and hearing from. Could you join with me in welcoming Professor Vitit Muntarbhorn?
Sawadee krab. Good afternoon. Salamat. Thank you, PILNet, for this sparkling conference. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm reminded by the words of children who started off an international conference with which I helped a while back, and it went something like this. Dear children, dear young persons, dear older persons, and dear those who are chronologically developing. And in that chronology of my humble self, why am I here? Why are you here? Given certain snapshots of life. Snapshot 1. I was in my teens. Naive, simple, learning. I did not like to be forced to play sports. I had the option of doing voluntary service, pro bono work. So off I went on my bicycle to prune the trees, to wash the windows, to make the tea with senior citizens somewhere over there in that country. And it became a really good idea. It gave me a certain sense of value. It nurtured in me a sense of belonging, being, wanting others to belong together in a sense of spiritual community, if you like, not religious, but something not only physical, but more than physical, something meaningful, resourceful for life. So message 1 from that snapshot: build the mind from a young age. Start young while not forgetting the older in our chronology of time. Snapshot 2. So I became a coincidental teacher. I really didn't intend to be a teacher. I didn't. I was called upon by a humble university somewhere to come for an interview, and then I got the job, and then I left, and I got another job in Thailand 35 years ago, 40 years ago, before all this red hair. And what did I do? I didn't just want to teach. I wanted to learn with the students, to do something beyond the university. I didn't want the ivory tower. So there were these projects in northeastern Thailand. No water, no electricity, not much money. So for 6 summers, 6 years, I would work with the students in different parts of Thailand, very dry areas, walking there sometimes, using carts, raising funds, asking for some water to drink, bathing in streams, sleeping on floors, building little roads and libraries with the students, summer camps in various parts of the country. And there was my utter ignorance, thinking that I was there, we were there to develop the villages. How presumptuous, how facetious. Only to find that we had to sleep on the floor in the village homes, nothing much, but we slept on the mat, which they had woven, beautiful, colorful reed mats. The pillow had been made by the village people. And at the end of the summer camp, there we were lining up to say goodbye, and the villagers came with the pillows and the mats that they would give us to take home as a thought, tying little ribbons of cotton threads as a spiritual link with ourselves to nurture within us something beyond. So the message of Snapshot 2 was this: when we think we are developing others, if we really work with others, it is we who are concurrently developed. So development is a mutual process. And pro bono work can be with law firms or without law firms. It's the open door to creativity and imaginative action. Snapshot 3. Oh, it was on the borders. It was on the borders. The refugees were coming in. My friends from the Girl Guides Association asked me to go along with them to help the youth from Cambodia, flooding in. Lots of black garments, the Khmer Rouge, also flooding in. Some youngsters wearing all black. Talking with Auntie. Auntie said to me, if you were in Cambodia under the Khmer Rouge with these glasses, you would have been bumped off as an imputed intellectual. You would have been killed off. So it sort of dawned on me that from that very helpless situation in a certain way, I could do something, maybe to raise some funds to help, which I did, maybe to increase my knowledge and write a little bit from the field, using my English maybe to write, help. And from that, the knowledge base increased gradually until in the end, coincidentally, I landed up at this refugee studies program at a certain university in a certain country. And I wrote this book called The Status of Refugees in Asia, published by a certain university. I shall remain nameless. And the proceeds, the royalties, are still there with the Refugee Studies Program of Oxford University, helping refugee research. I got nothing, not a penny from that, happily. So, lesson 3 from the snapshot. Maybe if we are working with vulnerable peoples, me as a coincidental teacher, analyst, and so on, maybe if we write about them and so on, we should really put something back a little bit, a sense of the community. I'm already paid as a teacher, it's all right, comfortable. But to have all that knowledge, to be empowered, it's so good to put something back, to feel a sense of responsibility, a sense of value, and not to exploit, ultimately, those who are already vulnerable. Snapshot 4. Oh. We were doing legal dissemination programs in various village areas in Thailand. And in fact, one of the groups was a Muslim group. In fact, very hospitable, very open to learning. And we were thinking, how do we creatively convey information in a certain way so as not to be too boring in legal education for the public, beyond the ivory tower. So from then, we started to think, why not do some cartoons about child labor. But not just to give the law, what the labor law is, but give addresses of where people can get help. Telephone numbers. Telephone numbers. No emails then, but telephone numbers then were very helpful for people to seek help, even if they didn't know the law or the human rights instruments or whatever. And then one of the tools that we used was also a snakes and ladders game that we did to educate children through dice, through going snakes and ladders, and with each little square with a certain message of, the child labor, minimum age of labor is this, 13 then, 15 now. Maybe an address at the back of the snakes and ladders game to give help if you wish, and so on. And then trying to pluralize my humble communication skills, only to find one day at a certain forum I was nearly defamed. And it was a totally silly forum about tapioca, manioc tapioca. And I didn't know what to do because I was nearly defamed and I wanted to respond as part of my right to respond. So I did my first newspaper article for the Nation newspaper in Thailand called Tapioca, the Root of the Problem. And from then, started to gel within me a certain understanding that actually information, communication are ultra important. And if we can reach out through a variety of ways and means, we are also empowered at the same time. So ever since then, I've been writing for the Nation newspaper, the Bangkok Post, etc. The most recent article was a couple months ago, actually, on persons with disabilities in ASEAN. And I raised the issue in that article about mental disabilities. Many of our countries around here still have Mental Disabilities Act, which allow electric shocks, electroconvulsive therapy, as well as straitjackets. Still, in this region, despite the fact that they've all signed up to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And I only learned about this because I did research on this issue, and I was with persons with disabilities. We had to present the country report recently before the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, an issue that I raised in my latest piece for the Bangkok Post 2 months ago for the ASEAN group. So the lesson from that snapshot is information is power, and it is incumbent upon us to use that information well, responsibly, through a variety of communications techniques as part of that personal and social responsibility. And my fifth and final snapshot is this. I want a good life too. I want to play sports. I jog. I will tomorrow. And I raise funds through jogging. I did the half marathon in Bangkok 2 years ago. I raised just $150, but the $150 went up to the disabilities home for children up in northern Thailand, just as the $10,000 from the UNESCO prize went up to the home for persons with AIDS and their families in northern Thailand. I left my heart there and here, then and now. And I also found along the way of 30, 40 years' work that ultimately I don't want to ask for money from others. I want to leave something behind and generate my own money. So the books that I now write, all the royalties, go to social causes. The last book, you can buy it. It's 100 euros. You can buy it. That book on ASEAN, the royalties go to ASEAN human rights defenders through Ateneo Law School. And the latest book, which will be published very soon, will go to the Law School of Thailand, as well as the next 2 books. My royalties are humbly going to a really, truly royal cause, which is the cause of the people in the region and beyond. So, last lesson. Actually, look at your value added. Even through running or writing, everybody has value added. And maybe you and I can generate our own resources too, while we don't deny the resources of others. But there is a value added to be tapped. So at the end of the day, that snapshot What is the recurrent thought from that conference with the kids when we were chronologically developing then as now? The final words of that conference were these: let us not wait in the wings for the wind to change, because we are and will be that wind of change. Thank you.